that Joan Ruther, 18 Stoneland Road Way, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the demolition of a garage at 18 Stoneland Road Way. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, June 19th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room.
Now
You can go ahead.
I'd like to,
And you're Joan, I take? Are you
yes, I
Joan?
am.
Okay.
This is at a rental property, and I'd like to demolish the garage that is no longer used as a garage. It's just an empty building before it falls down.
And how big is it?
It's like a one bay.
One bay. And the foundation on it, is there,
It's on the dirt.
so it just,
It's just sitting there from
okay,
decades ago.
okay. No concrete foundation or anything? No? Okay.
Martha?
I take it it's within the buffer,
Yeah,
the wetland
Yeah.
buffer?
we have the assessors maps here. I'm not sure which is the garage.
Will you be disturbing the ground at all?
Just to maybe level it off.
You're not bringing any dirt in or taking any dirt away? Okay. That's all from me.
That's it?
Yeah.
Jason?
No, I'm all set.
How do you plan to do this?
I haven't had a couple of appraisals yet, but I'm gonna have someone come in and remove it.
Okay. And everything will be, so, okay, so you leave it up to the subcontractor how they do it.
Yes.
All right.
Well, you're taking the material off-site, you're not,
Yes, I'm not keeping it.
Oh,
huh?
I'm not keeping it.
No, yes, you're-
okay, I'm all set.
okay.
All set.
Brad,
I'm all set.
does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Okay, there being none, you would.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we issue a negative determination with respect to this request.
Have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
You're all set.
How long do I have to do this project? Is there a time limit?
The determination's good for 3 years.
Okay, 3 years, all right, good,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brett.
Yes, that's supposed to be there.
Okay, we have another new notice of hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Shannon and Joseph Vasquez, 62 Cherry Street, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the construction of a shed at 62 Cherry Street. Public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, June 19th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
I'm Shannon. This is Joe. I'm the Speaker of the House. So we put a permit in to build a 14 by 20 shed in the rear of our property. It'll be a Reed's Ferry shed, so one that kind of comes built in the backyard. It's 27, roughly the closest point is 27 feet from the wetland edge, so I know 50 feet is the boundary. It doesn't need to be cleared or anything. We would just bring a little bit of like fill just to level it off, or in gravel and blocks, depending on whatever the requirements are from Reed or the permitting. I sent in the plan to show like the location, and what the backyard looks like. If it were to be 50 feet or more, it would be pretty much in the middle of the backyard, which is why we're favoring the backyard a little bit.
When you say 27 feet, is that from the wetland line?
Yeah, so from the wetland line, that's like the closest point, the back corner of the shed would be 27 feet.
We actually only require, our policy is only 30 feet,
Oh, okay, I thought it was,
not 50.
okay.
So,
So you could move it 3 feet?
Yeah, so it could go up 3 feet then, yes.
and then you meet the policy perfectly.
I mean, the scale, yeah, if you use the scale, I mean, this doesn't really do it justice, but on the PDF tool with the scale, if you
Yep.
do like 1 inch, 30 feet, it was about 30, 27, I think that back corner. I know the replication area, there's some concerns, there's some modifications that need to be done, so my understanding is that, Thompson and Liston are coming out this week to do some resurveying, and then the builder from the properties next door is taking care of that, so if that holds up the permit, like, that will be taken care of to meet any requirements needed.
Martha?
I don't have any
So
questions
this
at
is
the
a
moment.
proposed,
Not at the moment.
No, Jason?
No.
Bob?
this is a proposed reclamation area, is that it? That's not been constructed yet?
That's the one we've been chasing to get finished.
Yeah.
It's been partly constructed, it hasn't been totally constructed, it's undersized at the moment.
All right, now, is the 27, now 30 feet, is that from the existing wetland or the edge of the replication?
Well, according to the plan, it's from the replication. My concern was in the application, there was a photo showing the potential site for it,
Yeah,
which would have been closer than that.
yeah,
So my suggestion is that if the commission wants to issue a negative determination, we put in a condition there that the replication area be constructed completely first, and then I could meet with the homeowners on site and make sure that it gets sited 30 feet from that area.
well, we know where the replication area is gonna be constructed, right?
Right, it's supposed to be constructed where it is on that plan.
So-
It's not physically there today, though.
So, it's not, and whose responsibility is it to construct the replication area?
Technically, it would be the property owner's responsibility. I believe the developer building the lot next door had agreed at one of our previous meetings to
Yep.
just finish both.
Yeah,
both-
okay.
both the lots.
So, what is the value to making these people wait to build a shed until the replication area is finished, if we already know where the replication area is gonna be?
Well, so one of the things they could do is stake out where it's gonna be and then make sure that it's 30 feet from those stakes.
All right, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask, when you said it was 20 feet, 27 feet, and now 30 feet from the wetland area, are there still stakes there? How did you know that?
We walked it, and then we also used the PDF to scale on the drawing,
All right,
based on this replication, right, yep.
you know where the wetland is and where the replication area is, right?
I don't know what's been constructed in relation to where it was proposed in the plan. That's my issue. What I've been told as recently as either earlier this week or late last week, that they plan on going to stake it out,
Oh,
the area
okay.
that it's gonna be done. So once that's done, then they could easily site the shed 30 feet from that, but.
Okay.
So
that-
we can take a vote and condition
Yes,
condition it.
contingent on the staking of the replication area and the wetland.
That way you'd be ensured that it's that distance away.
All right.
Ken?
I have one question on the replication area. I remember when they came in, is the house being constructed next to this house now? Or,
It's either was or it may be complete by now.
and didn't we condition that to have the replication area done first?
We conditioned all of those lots to have the replication area done first, but then somebody came in that built this lot in particular, I think, and wanted to get going on it before doing the replication area. And the commission okayed it at that time.
I don't remember that.
Good bit of, I mean, I don't know exactly what needs to be modified, but like, all the plants on the conditions are planted back there, like all the birch trees and blueberry bushes are all planted back there. I don't know if like, what needs additional, but,
The issue is not a large enough area was created. A smaller area than what was required was back there.
okay.
So what we're saying is that if we vote a negative determination here, that it would be subject to the accurate staking of the proposed replication area and the wetlands, so that you could then know where to locate your shed.
Okay,
And until that was staked, you couldn't put up your shed.
okay.
And who's gonna do the staking, Bob, on that?
Well, I guess it's gonna be the.
We don't wanna leave that up to you, we wanna have some,
Thompson and Liston, my understanding is they're coming this week to stake it.
Good.
all right.
Just one more thing, I think Brad mentioned this. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to make sure that replication area gets done, because it's on your property. So I would hope that you would make sure that the builder constructs it, otherwise someday it could be on you.
Yeah, no, we've been staying on top of it and trying to, I didn't know that there was like additional modifications, cause it was all planted last spring, so I thought it was all taken care of.
Okay, well, you've communicated with the builder though, and he knows.
Next door, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Any other questions?
let's go to the public. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Okay, seeing none, do we have?
I would move, Mr. Chairman, that we issue a negative determination with respect to this request, provided that the wetland and the accurate location of the replication area be staked out so that a 30-foot distance can be secured for the, prior to the construction of the shed.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, can I have that?
This one, this one. Okay, we have a new notice of intent. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Gold Star Builders, Inc., 6 Jocks Street, Worcester, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family dwelling with associated grading, utilities, retaining walls, and site work at 40 Westview Avenue. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. Tuesday evening, June 19th, in the Selectmen's meeting room. Good evening.
Good evening, Patrick Burke, civil engineer at HS&T Group, representing Gold Star Builders. We're proposing to build a new single-family home on an existing vacant lot at 40 Westview Avenue.
Patrick, before you get going, do you have the
No,
green
no,
cards, or we have?
Just him.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Good. I'm proposing to have a driveway come off existing Westview Avenue to the north here, with a retaining wall up to 6 feet high on the side of the property. Resource areas are wetlands off-site, border vegetated wetlands to the north, and a drainage ditch in the thing, and this 10-minute stream. Buffer zone is 100 foot out here, portion of the garage, portions of the driveway are within the buffer, working within the resource areas. Got the driveway coming to the north. Tying into public sewer and water, and we have a storm tech filtration system located in front of the yard to infiltrate rooftop runoff.
Martha?
Where is the 30-foot buffer?
It's not shown on the plans, but it would be along the line here, and there's a little bit of grading in the back here. If you like this, I don't think this grading is really necessary on the back, we could eliminate all that with the buffer.
That's
All
it.
set?
Yeah.
Jason?
I'm all set right now.
Bob?
All set.
Ken?
I'm good.
Brad?
That was my only concern about the grading in the back and whether that was really necessary.
I don't believe it's necessary looking at that. We can definitely eliminate
Because
that.
that wetland that exists back there, I walked that yesterday. It's not really a well-defined channel, it's more of a scouring from, and I'm just afraid if you do more cuts back there, you may end up sending it more towards you instead of,
Yeah, but it's actually,
It's filling.
it's
Oh,
filling,
you
so I don't think the owner would want to pay for the fill anyway. I think
Just
we
filling
would rather
like 2
pull that
feet.
back.
oh, I meant back in here. Grading back in here.
Yeah,
This I wasn't concerned about.
The grade to drain?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
we-
just afraid if that ever started to catch you more. But it's,
I think the natural
big
pattern
concern.
would be better on the site anyway. I'm not sure why that was put there. It's kind of creating a swale that's not really necessary. The existing pattern would be fine, it's not going into the house.
I'll set you.
That's it. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Okay, seeing none, we'll close it.
Thank you.
solar already. On the Monday night, solar.
Yeah, we're all done.
Yeah. Real thing.
Yeah, come.
I'll see. Around. Okay, that takes care of our meetings and hearings, and we're on to new and old business. Why don't we go through our orders of conditions?
Let me see what we got.
We have this one here.
We have
Just
the
finished.
first one, so Mr. Chairman, I would move that we issue an order of condition to Atul Dashad for the removal of a deck and construction of addition at 10 Arrowhead Lane.
With the substitution of the high bush blueberries, right?
Yes.
And split rail fence?
Right, and the split wire fence, that was, actually, that was on the plan, I thought, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That's my motion.
Do we have a second?
Did they submit a new plan? I didn't,
Oh, was that, I thought there was,
so I think we just have to make sure we condition it.
No,
All
the
right.
plan was for the
okay,
one.
well, all right.
I had-
Conditions
they had a
on the
plan with
installation
no
of a
patio.
split rail fence and high bush blueberries along the border of the wetland.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I move that we issue a order of conditions to Paul Bergerman for the demolition of existing house and construction of a new single-family home, driveway grading, and associated site work at 38 Brookline Parkway.
Second.
All in favor?
May I
Yep.
jump in?
1 second.
On the plan, there was a note that the wall be designed by others. Can we condition that we receive that design prior to construction?
Okay,
Subject to that condition.
sounds good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I further move, Mr. Chairman, that we issue an order of conditions to Gold Star Builders for the construction of a single-family dwelling, associated grading and site work at 40 Westview Avenue.
Right, with the deletion of that grade to drain swale on the back end, right, Brad?
I'm not overly concerned about it, that's fine though.
All right. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I need a pen.
Okay.
Brad?
Okay, these are all done.
Red pen.
Okay.
All right, discuss and sign certificates of compliance, Brad?
Why don't we go to 15 Hilando first, as I believe somebody's here for that one.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Want me to give a quick overview?
Yeah, why don't you?
So this was the approved record drawing here.
Yep.
When I went out to do the inspection,
Do you want to come up? You can
Oh,
come up,
please.
too.
so it looks like the garage has been constructed in the location shown on the plan by eye. What was shown here for a driveway, if you come off of this corner here, it's about 18 feet wide. It tapers a little bit as you head towards the street.
Yep.
But what's physically there today, the driveway pavement's about 30 feet wide. There's a little bit of flat level grading beyond that, and then it slopes down 3 to 1, almost to the property line in here. So there's some wetland fill in this area here that we hadn't approved, and obviously too, the plantings were never done here as well.
And also, I want to say that this was from the previous owner, that is not me. I didn't request this, so this has been in the making for, this has been done since 16 years ago. I bought the house 10 years ago. This was never brought up to me when I purchased the home. It wasn't brought up to me by the homeowner or the attorney that was able to sign that information. So this information should have been brought up.
Yeah, the problem was there was never a certificate of compliance, right, Brad, on this?
That's correct.
So
So this is a certificate of compliance for a 16-year-old order of conditions?
they, when you bought the house, your attorney should have picked up on this,
Yes.
you know, and that's the issue, and
Yes. And so, I mean, And right now, I'm currently trying to sell this home.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to move to Virginia Beach.
Yep.
And I'm trying to be with my family, and I just want to understand what I need to do in order
Yeah.
to receive a certificate of compliance.
Basically, we have to go by the approved plan. There's no way we can allow the fill. It's just a violation.
I
And
understand.
so if you take the approved plan, Brad can get you a copy of that, get a contractor in, and make the modifications to bring it back to as proposed and
Is-
approved.
So there's no other alternative? We can be very creative with the design and anything?
If, for example, you wanted to maintain the driveway,
Yes.
you could file for a permit application to do so, but then you'd have to replicate somewhere else, and you'd have a
Yeah,
so-
and I don't
What
have
he's,
the time
what he's
because,
suggesting is the most timely thing you can do.
Yeah. I mean, if you got a contractor in to do this work, and as soon as it's complete, you don't have to wait for us to give you any approval to do that.
so I
Go-
need a contract.
You need a contractor, he's gotta, build it per the approved plan, and then you get Brad to come out and inspect it, and as soon as Brad says it meets the approved plan, we give you a certificate of compliance, and you're free and clear, there won't be anything encumbering your sale.
So, well, my sale is actually the 29th of this month.
Oh, okay,
And I just found out about
Yeah.
this. And so when you say a contractor, you're referring to a landscaper? I don't understand what you're referring to when you just say a contractor.
You'd need some kind of earth-moving contractor.
he has to deal with the driveway
Yeah,
too.
because he has to remove the driveway,
Yeah.
remove the soil that's been put over there. So you need someone with a backhoe and
Yeah.
bulldozer or
Okay.
something like that.
Brad have anything to add?
Yeah, just a few concerns.
Yeah.
One, procedurally, what mechanism do you want to see in place that's going to allow them to do this? Because without an active
It's
order
a
of
2-0.
conditions, or an enforcement order, then you really can't be doing this work.
Because of the expiration of the,
Because of the expiration of the order.
well, that's
So
true.
one of the thoughts I've had, and keep in mind, we may have a bunch of these coming our way, we'll talk more tonight. If somebody wants to restore it according to plan, maybe an enforcement order would help facilitate that easier
That's-
than
let's
applying for
do
a
that.
permit.
Yeah.
But we also need some assurance that that area is restored to meet the wetlands criteria, which typically a contractor coming in isn't probably gonna know how to do that properly.
Right.
Make sure you've got the right soil there and the plants and the grade's perfect too. I mean, I can only be there so much to help people with that, so somebody's gotta oversee that part.
So he may have to get a general contractor for the site work, and then you get an ecotech in for the wetland
A
portion.
wetland
like-
scientist type.
Like you saw in some of the earlier hearings.
Yes.
There was a wetland scientist sitting with the builder. So it sounds like what Brad's saying is you might have to get one of those guys along with the contractor to reestablish the wetland that's been filled. Okay?
One more thing too, John.
Yep.
On this particular site, in the hearing we had earlier today, one of the plan revisions they made was because of the turnaround for the garage. We mentioned that the last time they were here. If they go to 18 feet and try to back out of that garage bay, they're gonna have difficulty doing that, as it's shown on the plan. So to me, it would make sense to leave what's there and try to replicate, and the site would certainly accommodate replication fairly easily. I did walk back around the shed, and it wouldn't be too difficult to construct a replication area and get it to function, I think, in fairly short
You're
time.
talking way,
during the-
that corner, way at the very back here?
By the
Yeah.
shed, yes.
I mean, there's not much grade difference
here?
between the upland and the wetland there.
Yep.
So up in
You're
here?
talking inches.
You'd have to do up in here.
Yep.
You couldn't do this.
No, you couldn't because
get
it's
home.
disconnected.
Or even back in here. Could do something, depending on how much it is.
Like a
yeah.
finger in here?
Yeah. I mean, the grade's very subtle. But it's something that could easily be done on site somewhere.
So
To me, it
But-
doesn't make any sense trying to rip up all that driveway, because I think you're gonna have maneuverability problems too.
all right, if that's an option that you
Because
think he should pursue.
this was never
that's
done.
fine.
I think that the intent was to kind of have a
Yeah.
turnaround this way.
Yeah.
Does not go back there, it comes across.
Yeah, what wasn't done, Brad, you said?
The extension, I think that was,
Oh,
but even that, I'm
okay.
not sure would have worked because of that.
Yep,
That angle.
But now he's talking about process. Now he's talking about coming in for a permit to build a replication area.
Could we do it under an enforcement order? Could that work be that limited enough?
I'd be hesitant to show something different than what we approved on an enforcement order.
So he's back to a filing and time-wise here. He's got to fight time. It's not easy.
Well,
You see what we're saying? If we allow what's been done to stay and you have to bring, this wetland line in, you would have to make a new filing. And that would mean you would have to come back next month, make your plan,
well,
your
you're talking to
presentation.
it,
Yeah.
at best, 2 to 3 months to get this thing done. With a contractor and a wetland scientist.
By the time he hires everybody.
Now,
Well, the other thing too is once somebody goes in and removes that fill tomorrow, for instance, we may be out of the growing season to get that area to function. So are you comfortable giving a certificate of compliance, not knowing if that area is gonna be, properly restored too?
well, I hope you understand that we can't provide a certificate of compliance because it's not compliant.
Tonight,
Now,
yeah.
Not tonight.
now,
Maybe your lawyer
maybe
can
you
work
could
with
come to
your
some agreement.
buyer
Yeah.
and come up with an escrow or something and hold some money back and say, listen, this is what it's gonna cost to do this. I have a contractor, I have a wetlands guy, I have this. And maybe that would suffice to get your closing, even though you don't have this.
it's obvious we
'Cause I-
closed before without this.
Right.
Yes.
So-
Apparently it was an oversight.
Correct.
or
Yeah.
something. I don't know what it
So
was.
maybe somebody can work something out, whereas if you put these mechanisms in motion, that you hold some money back on your sale,
Yes.
and then you work
When
it out.
purchased, did you happen to buy title insurance?
I did, and it doesn't cover it, because my relocation package, the person actually reached out, I gave them the HUD 1A and the title insurance, and they looked into the filing, and they said they couldn't file based on that, they couldn't file, an insurance claim on this, so. Yeah, I've done it all, I just, the movers will be there this
Yeah.
week.
And the problem is you have to manage it from afar now,
Yes,
too.
and
That's-
that means I gotta travel back and forth up here with no place to stay, no family up here.
Yeah.
Just,
It's too bad we
Well-
couldn't pass it to the new owners.
Well, I
with
suppose
some
it's
agreement,
possible,
and let the
it's
new
possible
owners-
that the new owner would be willing
We can.
with certain
I can't with the
considerations.
escrow?
I would work it out between the two lawyers and
Yeah.
do it that way,
Yeah.
and then they'll have to deal with it.
We had one
Yes.
recently
Yeah.
come in here, I think it was Woodside, that's what they're doing now,
Yeah.
they're going through that process.
Yeah, they'll
Get
just be-
transferred and they'll be coming back to us with a
Yeah.
plan for.
Work it out that way, you just, a little bit of money, it can go away.
So, right now, I know all this is verbal and I'm not retaining probably a little bit of it. Is there any way that I could have some type of documentation that states, like, my options or, what I can do?
You can get this hearing on tape. It's televised and
Okay.
accessible, so the new owner can even view it too. You
Okay.
both can sit down together and go through this
Or your lawyer.
and hear it firsthand as to what was said tonight.
Okay,
And then maybe you mutually can come to an agreement and shift the remaining work back to this new owner
yes,
with some escrow money.
okay, I can do
You know.
that, I can do that.
But I would think that's the best thing to do, is to review the tape online,
Okay,
okay?
okay,
It's not uncommon too for the closing attorneys to give my office a call. A lot of times, all it takes is 5 minutes on the phone with them so that they understand what needs to be done.
okay,
Okay.
okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you guys very much.
Good luck.
Well, good luck, sorry we couldn't,
It's okay, I
we're
mean,
sorry you're leaving Shrewsbury.
no, I'm actually mad about that myself. My wife got a job down there, and she's been there since January. And I've been up here with the kids.
Yeah.
While they finish school. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, good luck.
Good night.
Okay.
Where's all the signed ones?
We're signing, that's good,
That was,
these are gonna be signed.
that was 15,
have any-
that was Holando?
Huh?
That was Holando, right?
Yeah.
I just want the signed ones to keep those in order, but
This side here.
John, do we want to jump to, before we do the other certificates of compliance, just because of our audience members?
Yeah,
We want to jump to the enforcement orders?
Yes.
that's fine.
That was, the one we just did.
You gonna do Gulf Street, Brad?
I'm gonna give a quick brief overview and then.
These two people, would you care to approach?
Come right around here, you can see better.
Okay, so these lots, before the wetlands impact, these lots were not within the commission's jurisdiction. They're 3A and R lots here. I think it's Browning Road, that's right over here.
Oh,
And the 290 underpass is a little bit down that direction. So this plan is from back in late 2016. Part of the building permit process, I required them to submit a stormwater pollution prevention plan for our stormwater bylaw. That's why we have this. There's been a few times during construction where we've gotten some impacts into the road and into the drainage system, and then I watched it in the wetland area downstream. One of the big things that hasn't been done according to this plan is the installation of erosion control along those driveway entrances, particularly at the close of day or anytime they're not there on site. And those entrances have been a short circuit for material getting down onto the road. This particular event, it was so bad that the town went down there with their equipment to get it off the road. It was pretty heavy mud that day. What I've requested in the enforcement order is an updated SWIP. The deadline for that was Friday. I do not have that as of yet. I did go out onto the site on Friday just to see what they have done. They have sprayed a good number of the exposed areas. I should back up a step. This lot is not currently under construction for a house. There's 2 houses here under construction. This is more of a staging area for materials at the moment. The areas back in here were sprayed, or due to be sprayed. The areas all in the front were sprayed. Some of the big hills in the front were sprayed with a mulch. What I was still concerned about was the driveways themselves. There seemed to be a pretty good short circuit exposure for material still getting down into the road there. I suggested installing more BMPs down at the bottom, and more particular directed them to their engineer to really give us a plan on how to address it going forward. I was told on site last Friday that the driveways were going to be paved early this week. Not sure if that's been done yet, but we can probably get an update now.
You guys the builders? Are you the?
Yes.
Yeah, you're the builders?
I represent the present builders like that.
Okay.
So, I'm looking at this order here, and it says that, stabilization plan should be prepared by a professional engineer or certified professional in erosion and sediment control. Have you hired that person?
Yes.
Okay. And who is that?
DC Engineering, Mr.
Okay.
Jeremy Croshaw, he will be doing that. It will be ready next week like that, so.
And
And
what is his projection for having the plan prepared?
so 1 to 1.5 week.
Yeah.
And with respect to the driveways, already we have graded the driveways and laid the gravel as well. It's ready for the pavement, but for 134, the electric truck has to come over there for the service, so we are waiting for them. As soon as done, we will pave it, because the truck is heavy. If we pave now, it's possible that it may disrupt the payments. So that will be also done within a week like that.
So when do you expect the pavement now to be installed?
Within a week like that. As soon as the electric truck comes and we have the service, then we'll go right away pave it, because it's all ready for the payment. And,
So this is under construction, there's no construction here?
no.
Has it
we
been
have
stripped?
capped it completely, no, yeah.
No? And
only
it-
the 134 and 136.
But that's all sprayed now.
That's
That's
all
sprayed.
sprayed
How
and
how long ago was that?
Last week.
Just last week? Okay.
And with the slopes are very steep,
Yeah.
we use the riprap over there like that to contain.
How did it hold out with the rain
Yes.
yesterday?
Yeah, it
Yesterday?
did good, pretty good.
Did
Yeah,
it hold
pretty
out
good, yeah.
okay?
Has this been sprayed too?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and on our request, Mr. Bloodstone was there, he has looked everywhere and taken the photograph.
Did you put the stone scrubber pads at the driveway entrances?
And we have used gravel in front about 10 feet for the screening
Stone?
purpose, also stone.
Stone.
But within 3-4 days, when we pave it, they take it off.
Did
and
you
pave
put
it
this
completely.
in here? Is that constructed?
Yeah, this is 34, right? Yeah, here's the, and the day before yesterday, we gravel it completely to make ready for the pavement like this, all ready for the pavement, just waiting for the electric truck. As soon as they come and give the service over here, we'll just pave it.
So how are you preventing the silt in dirt from getting on the road? Did you do any of those other things that are on this list?
The silt fence is already there, we have the screens as well, but still, after paving also, I will check and I will install the fences around like this, what is being suggested here.
Does something need to be done before paving? If the paving is going to be a week and a half?
Right, I mean, that's why I really wanted their engineer to get out there and give us a proposal on what he wants to do.
So we're basically gotta wait, they can't do anything until we get that engineering proposal, or what do you suggest?
Well, I mean, has he been to the site yet?
Yeah, yesterday he has been there. already.
And did he give you ideas of what to do?
As I told you also, I told him also, so he was conquering, but I told him, so paving like that, he said, okay, you go ahead, pave, and I will prepare the report and submit to your office like that.
So the only thing you suggested is paving so far, or?
It's paving he asked me as well, so what are you going to do to contain the water to going on the road? I said, I will install silt fence and the hay bales around it, across the driveways as well.
While you have exposed areas on the hill, though, I think you need to try to slow that down rather than just try to collect it at the bottom of those driveway entrances.
That's why we graded it in low mid and we hydroseeded all the slopes like that.
Yeah.
And where the slopes are very steep, there we have used riprap and the gravel on the top of that. So that will slow down especially. And the gravel will serve as a screen also for the water which it runs.
So the driveways are the only open areas now that?
Yeah.
But how about hay bales as breaks in
Well,
the end of every day?
check dams
Check
and
dam,
things
yeah.
that what you really need to, because once you pave that driveway, if you've still got issue, I mean, the water's gonna be moving now, and then you're gonna.
That's gonna run on the edges.
Yeah, so. I mean, he really needs to look at it comprehensively. You're gonna need a number of BMPs, not just a hay bale at the bottom and paving. That's not gonna solve the problem.
So you've not received any written suggestions or recommendations from your engineer yet?
Yeah, not yet.
I'm curious, this is dated May 25th, and you were asked to have a report by the engineer submitted by June 15th. It seems to me it would have been enough time. What was the delay?
Actually, when the engineer came, we told him he has to prepare a report like that. So he said, okay, this is the plan what you are doing. Yes, go ahead, we to do it. I will prepare my report and submit to the town like that. So he concurred with our suggestions like that. So still, there was issue over there. So I'm waiting for his suggestion for that.
Probably the thing to do is to tell his engineer, you go back, tell your engineer tomorrow you've met with the commission
Okay.
and that something has to be done to the driveways in the interim before.
I will do that.
And like Brad said, once they're paved, the water's gonna be coming down
Yeah,
that
yes.
rapidly, so he has to deal with that because that's gonna erode on the edges. You're gonna still have a problem. So he may have to put, like Brad says, some check dams in to cut the flow off.
Yeah.
And, but it's gonna take an engineer to do that and just say it has to be done quick, because obviously,
If it doesn't, and if something happens again where it discharges and it isn't done, you could possibly be hit with a cease and desist. In other words, you would have
Well, I
to
think
be
this
ordered to
is,
stop.
is
Well,
this
that-
stopped? Is it-
What's that?
Is this a cease and desist as well?
It's a cease and desist, but, I mean,
But it has to tighten the slope.
right, it's,
We have to fix the
Well,
slope
yeah,
too.
well, I mean, everything should be stopped except for the erosion control activities, right?
right. Yep.
Do you understand that?
You're not doing any more construction
Well, he
here,
has to
right?
get the electrical, he's talking to the electrical
That's
guy
correct.
coming
Yeah.
in to run
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
The service
so
that's-
only those activities that are associated with this problem can continue until,
What might help you is if the electric has to go under the driveways, install that little piece now, and get that in and compacted now, because it's a short piece, and then get your driveway paved sooner than later. Don't wait for the electrician to come do the whole thing, just do a little bit. Get it in, that way you can
put the conduit in, right?
put the conduit in, otherwise, you could be in more of a mess, and more damage could be done to the wetlands and other things. And just-
Is that okay, Brad?
And
Okay with that.
let me ask you one thing, inside the houses, we were working something, doing the carpentry, other thing, inside the houses. So,
You should be ceased.
okay,
That says no more activity,
okay.
except that,
That's affecting the site, though. There really isn't any reason you can't work inside the building.
okay,
That's been established
Right.
in case law.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you can continue to work inside the building,
Thank you.
okay.
And-
please get
And the
that
paving,
done.
I will take it within 2-3 days like that, and I will come and report to you. And again, you proceed to visit the site,
And,
and I will send my
Okay.
engineer also to see you.
yes, get your engineer to see him and get his plan in, make sure that
I will do
you're
that.
implementing all controls that are optimal.
So one last thing too, the homeowner across the street had quite a bit of dirt onto their property from it. Have you,
Last occurrence when we had a flash flooding like that, and I was on the site, but I was unable to stop. It was coming so forcefully, so I installed some cables, but didn't work at all. That's why some of the city did go across the street. So
Yeah.
after that only we,
Could you clean it up? At the
Yeah.
neighbor's house?
Yeah.
You did?
and I was with her, she was there, I was with her, and she saw me there doing at the thing. So put the cables over there, not to go any work.
So all the dirt
was
is off,
not angry
all
like that,
the dirt is off the neighbor's yard now?
And
Okay.
I'm sweeping the street also. Tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I will sweep the complete street also.
Okay.
All right,
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Everybody sign it.
Anything else to say?
I don't know.
Sign it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, signs the enforcement order.
I don't
You
have
should have
all,
put a big sign.
Terminations, orders.
I don't have all the other certificates.
Okay,
I'm
are
gonna
we
get yelled at if they're not.
back on our certificates of compliance, Brad?
I don't know where this goes. This was yours.
Okay, yep. So, in a nutshell, I'm not recommending that you issue any certificates of compliance tonight. 5 Oak Meadow Circle, that's been hydroseeded, but the grass is just barely starting to come through. I'd like to see that get established first before issuing it. 166 South Quinsigamon Avenue, we do need the certification letter from the design engineer. I sent that notice to the applicant last week. I haven't received it yet. And then, the other interesting one for this evening is Lot 9R Holman Street and Lot 10R Holman Street. I think I forwarded the commission, an email yesterday regarding this one. This particular site has some history to it. Those of you that were on the commission when the houses were permitted, you may recall that we did an enforcement order for this particular lot.
With the stone, with the stones?
Right,
Yeah,
what they
okay.
did was they constructed like 2 corners of the foundation into the wetland area, just barely, and then some fill beyond that went in it. So what had happened was they came in with, to remedy that, they filed new notices and received 2 more, so they had original order conditions for this lot and 1 for this lot, which is the 2 that are being requested. Then there was new notices filed for each lot later on that required basically limiting to this stone wall area for disturbance and then creating replication in this area here.
Yeah.
Now, since then, we had issued, or the commission had issued certificates of compliance for those later orders back in 2004. Now, this alteration back here, beyond the stone wall, was done sometime after 2007, or maybe even later than that. I'd have to check all the history. So it was done after the commission issued the certificates of compliance. It's kind of a little bit hard to see because of the tree canopy, but there's an additional disturbed areas in here as well as out through here.
So you're telling me the wetland is essentially where the wall is?
That's where the wetland was.
Yeah.
Today it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of does this and then this and then continues on.
So there was fill brought in here?
Yeah, not a
Okay.
lot. I mean, if you walk, it's subtle, but there's a little bit, maybe like this, and then they planted turf grass. So,
And this is the area of the replication area?
which does not look that wet to me today.
No. And that's being mowed as well?
That's being mowed as well. The request came for both of these lots because what had happened was there was a little bit of a property line reconfiguration that was done to accommodate this house. So the attorney involved was concerned about cleaning up both of them because of the title. I did knock on the door here, tried to explain it to the homeowner at number 102. She was a little confused, got some of it, but at the end of the day, she was like, why do you need to be out here? And I said, I really don't. They're trying to relieve this one. If you don't want me on your property, I won't knock your property. But clearly from the aerials, you can see that it doesn't look very wet back here.
No.
We had no delineation on that.
I'd have to, I don't, we may have that file here.
I'm so confused, Brad, as to why is this before? They've asked us for certificates of
The
compliance?
house at 106 just transferred. I think they closed Friday.
Oh, so they closed.
But because of the property line
Yeah.
swap here, it
Yeah.
sort of dragged this
Yeah.
one into it.
But how did it sell then? Without,
Well, how did the other one sell that was out here earlier?
Poor guy.
Lawyer,
huh?
creative lawyer.
Yes.
But with this one, I don't think Jason or Martha were here, but Ken, you and I were here, and that was the one where
Oh, I remember
we
that
had to
Oh, yeah.
put
Oh,
the
yeah.
wall in because we didn't,
Yeah.
and
That was
and that's a stone wall.
There was a lot of contention on that
Oh, I
one.
remember that.
We didn't even go
Yeah.
with the fence and the
Yeah.
arborvitae's.
I mean, you drive by and you can see the wetland.
That worked.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah. So clearly, they don't get a certificate of compliance.
Right.
So what are we talking about? Issuing an enforcement order?
Well, technically, you probably could if you wanted to go that route because the property just transferred. You have a 3-year statute of limitations from when somebody buys the property. But because each day fill is in place is a new offense, I think once somebody buys it, that 3-year clock starts again. That's what's been explained to me, and when properties transfer, and that's what the buyer's attorneys are usually worried about. Even though something may be old, they think that the commission may still have jurisdiction. So that was,
I don't understand what you just said, but, okay.
that's the stone wall that was originally there in the photo, and this was the replication area.
And we had nothing marked on that lot, huh? It's a barrier. Oh, is that a wall? Is that the wall?
That was
That's
the
the
wall
wall.
there too, yep.
So that wall is no longer?
That wall is still there.
No, it's pushed out,
I mean, this
gone.
wall,
It
there was a
stops.
wall,
This-
woops.
This wall?
Yeah, that should come onto
It
this
should
lot.
have continued,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, because that's,
See, that's it.
That's not
Martha,
this?
this is the wall. This is the next lot,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
This is that lot. This is that lot, and there was a wall.
so our wall got,
They
That's-
specified a wall. They were gonna build that wall, right?
They didn't finish it.
This is a
I think
proposed
that's
wall, right?
Fencing. I'm pretty sure they had done it, because I remember when the certificates of compliance request came out ages ago, that we looked at it.
probably took it down and pushed the yard out.
Now, which
And I don't
certificate,
think this is a wall, I think that's fencing. Yeah, you can see it better here, it's fencing, yep.
Well,
Well-
at least we got the line. We know where the line goes, and that's where it's gonna have to come back ultimately, except we can't.
Well, you don't, I'm not sure you have jurisdiction
Not
over this
today,
one right now
not today, yeah.
until they go to sell it.
Yep.
Or refinance, or something sends them back because of that title issue.
Wait a minute, why wouldn't we have jurisdiction if that lawn is in violation of a?
If every-
Statute of
If every
limitations.
day the
Yeah.
fill is sitting there, it's a violation.
I mean, we could potentially ask town council, but I thought the 3 years was what we've always gone by.
Well, I mean,
I checked with DEP as well, but.
I don't know that we should go after these, but I think they should at least know that we know that this irregularity exists. They probably don't think anything of it, right? These current owners aren't necessarily the ones that filled it. Who knows?
No, I don't think, well, this one just bought it Friday.
So he
This,
clearly.
this one, I think, bought it after the fact too. I
Yeah.
think that was maybe
So-
2008.
So they just think they have a good line,
Right.
both of them.
Is there any way to, without going the enforcement route, just make a notice of violation and record it against that property? And if it goes in for a transfer, obviously they're gonna do a search and it would pop
What's-
up. I mean, we're not ordering them to do anything at the time, just to put them on notice that it is in
Well, the
violation.
certificate will pop up itself, right?
Well,
In the
the
same line, right?
certificate got issued for
People
that
don't
lot.
pay attention, right, this house has transferred like 3 times already
Yeah,
since it's been
certificate's
built.
been issued, somebody came in and they.
Well, I guess my
they-
point is, nothing else, they
So
don't
if
pay
the-
attention to
yeah,
that.
so if there was a certificate of compliance on the lot, how can we hold the new people responsible for what was done? I mean, they had no idea,
Yeah,
They should have.
but there was a certificate of compliance,
It's the
right?
same issue we're dealing with all of them. The gentleman that was just before us,
Yeah, but he didn't have a certificate.
they don't have a certificate. They don't have a certificate on this
Well, I
order.
thought you said they had a
They
certificate.
have a certificate on the other orders. They wouldn't be before us right now if they had a
Yeah.
certificate.
Oh my God, that's so confusing.
well,
So somewhere along the line, the certificate completion got dropped.
There's an order of
They fell
conditions,
off.
certificate.
So there was 2 orders of conditions for each lot. There's 1 certificate of compliance for each lot.
Okay.
That's been issued.
And what did that actually certify? What did that certificate of compliance certify for each lot?
That it was in compliance with the latter plans, not,
Not the new.
yeah, right, not the new ones.
Right, the original plan.
So we probably gave him a certificate of compliance on the first order, then we issued another order.
Well, the violations happened after we gave the certificate of compliance. That's really
And
the
then they
issue
got-
here.
came
But
in
now
with
they
another-
have these outstanding ones still,
yeah,
so.
Yeah, so they're on
All
no.
right,
so,
I get it.
it seems to me that we ought to try to figure out a way to notify them that that they have a problem.
So right now, they probably don't understand
No,
that there's a
they
problem.
don't.
So they need to be informed
Yeah.
and educated
Yeah.
and understand what the legal ramifications could be.
Maybe
for
we
that,
should
and then
try to
give
come up
them
with a
the-
letter that says, you've requested a certificate of compliance, you're not gonna get it, and this is why. Does that make sense?
Give him a copy of the order of conditions that was
Yeah.
conditioned, that wasn't completed properly. I mean, that's probably the best we can do.
And you've been in touch with the attorney who was cleaning up?
I sent them this information yesterday.
Okay,
So they've got it,
they've got, all right.
but, I mean, they closed last week too, so
I don't think they can, no.
Probably trying to figure out.
Yeah, but they closed. Now they closed, now they're saying, oh, okay, we closed.
The thing is,
But you said once they
you can't
close,
clean it up,
once
right?
they
There's no
transfer.
way you-
I,
No,
I, sus-
no,
I
not now,
suspect
but
there's
maybe
been
they-
an escrow account
Yeah,
probably
that's
for
probably
this,
what,
which
yeah.
is why they're still in contact, yeah.
Okay.
Because
So
they're
if
not gonna
they're-
get title insurance, because there's an exception on the policy.
Really?
Yeah.
So why, yeah,
Really? Does
why
that-
wouldn't
I
we
didn't
encourage
even-
them to
Does
restore
that
that
matter in
area?
every
Oh,
case that
absolutely.
there's not a certificate of compliance? You can't get title insurance?
Oh, yeah, not anymore,
Because we got a lot of those, and everybody gets title insurance, don't they?
not anymore.
Wow.
Or there's an exception on the policy, so
Yeah.
it comes up in 15 years when they come and
Yeah.
go and sell.
Is that what this gentleman before us probably ran into?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ah.
Because now everybody's all over it, to make sure there's recorded certificates of compliance.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a case a few years
Well,
ago.
So you've notified the attorneys are
Well, I
aware of this?
gave the attorney what the commission has
Okay,
in terms of the email correspondence, the letter I sent. I can have conversations with the attorney that represented the sellers and explain everything that's going on.
Yeah.
It's-
yeah, and let's see in next meeting where how that pans out, and
That's the best you can do.
Yeah, I think we can leave it at that.
then
I
decide.
still think we should issue a clear letter as to what's happening here, why they're not getting a certificate of compliance, and then every party can get it, including the owners.
Do that
And
too.
then there can be no disagreement.
Well, you can explain it. Why? Because they didn't fulfill the obligations on
yeah.
that order. And here it is, simply. It wasn't completed. Here's the order, this is what was voted on, this is what should have been done.
Yeah.
And then you can provide that to all parties. It's
And that,
public information.
that it is possible to fix it, and if you wanna hire the people and clear up your title, or I don't know, maybe it's something, town council should write. But, I think they should be, you know, they're innocent parties here, and they're in deep trouble if they wanna continue to try to sell their house or move on.
Well, Brad, you could draft the letter and then run it through town council, have him do the legalese too.
Yeah, as long
Obviously,
as
he's
the
not-
manager's office is okay with it.
Yeah.
I gotta think they'll be okay with it.
We can't-
Well, it's
People do
a
it.
problem, and
is.
it's a precedent, and
Yeah, I mean,
These were tight lots to begin with, and I mean, we were very cognizant of where that line was, and we needed, you
and
know.
there
the
was no
protection.
30 feet here.
Well, no, it's just
I think,
flagrant,
I
you
think the
know.
30 feet came after this, actually.
Um,
Yeah.
Well, they built the house not even close to where it was
Yeah.
proposed, that
Yeah.
was the issue.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That's
that
how
they-
they ended up with the wall.
I remember
There
that.
was a lot of.
Here's- here's-
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, well, those
All right,
behind
Brad.
us. We thought it was behind us.
Does that help, or?
Sure,
Crystal,
crystal
Crystal.
clear. I'll watch the tape and
Thanks
figure it
for
out
s-
again.
There you go.
thanks for smiling.
Thanks, Brad.
Here, you might want that.
So that's it for the
Okay,
certificate
here's
of
the,
compliance.
here's the,
Here's the order, the enforcement order. Extension permits.
Yep.
what's going on?
4 in there. Seem to have lost my agenda at the moment, but there's 4 on South Street. I recommend that we give
This could be your agenda right here.
a 1-year extension to each one of those. That's what they requested.
Okay.
And then there should be a emergency certificate for 645 Grafton Street. That's the former Camp Wenigan site.
The Beavers?
Yes, this was actually for a culvert collapse.
Oh,
The-
yes.
The corrugated metal pipe that was there
Yeah.
sunk in quite a bit. It already started partially in the past, but it got much worse. We weren't sure going in if the, well, what was happening is there was quite a bit of an impoundment upstream, probably a good 2.5 feet or more. And there's a number of houses along Grafton Street that have septics, and the water was really creeping up into the yard. We had to relieve it. We weren't sure going in if it was really a total culvert collapse causing the blockage, or if there was other factors involved. And what we did was we partially breached the culvert area, and then further breached it later in the day on a Friday, with the idea of you let it drain and do the repair work first thing on a Monday. We had, a good 7 or 8 days of no rain in that forecast when we decided to do that. When we got back out Monday morning, the beavers dammed it completely up. So there's the answer on that. We think the beavers probably, did some mud packing or whatever into the inlet on the culvert that was there too. So we freed it up. We are in the process of trapping the beavers. We've got 4 on the site so far to date. And there was a new 36-inch pipe that was installed. We put it in a plastic pipe this time. It's not the long-term fix, but it's enough to work for now.
As long as your lifetime.
Probably, who knows, unless we can get a grant or something to improve that area.
Okay, we have one last item. So discuss appointing a commissioner to the Shrewsbury Public Lands Committee.
Yep. So I've provided everybody with a copy of the letter from the Board of Selectmen. On the list of people they're looking to appoint is one member from the Conservation Commission. We've had right now it appears to be limited to properties that they looked at for the school site in the past, and there was a pretty long list to start with. I think the commission may have saw only 6 or possibly only 3 when they came in to speak to us, but there was a much bigger list at the beginning. And they want to start having discussions about those properties. Internally, at least people in the town hall I've spoken with hope it expands beyond those properties at some point, because we've come across many issues with a number of different parcels in town. In fact, and most of the ones we're dealing with at the moment aren't necessarily related to any of these properties that were on the school conceptual list at the early stages. Mainly what we're dealing with is a lot of encroachment issues. I mean, we have, for instance, we have a detention pond in town that's got 30 feet of fill on top of it within the detention basin. We have some encroachments onto Article 97 property. We have, things like zip lines being constructed on other open space. People basically squatting on the land that's next to them in a number of areas. So it's not an isolated incident here or there. There's many incidents. So at some point we need to start thinking about that and come up with some policies on how to handle it. I can tell you, early this week we came across 2 fairly important ones that's going to come before the commission next month. I didn't have time to get it on the agenda to comply with open meeting law for this meeting, but you'll see 2 of them next month.
So when do we have to have this person chosen? Are you looking for that tonight, or?
Yes, because they want it, there was a date, I don't have the, yeah, they need
July
they need to
16th.
delegate by July 16th, and
Okay.
we don't meet till the 17th.
Okay. Who wants to do it?
I would like to volunteer.
Perfect.
Do we have a second
Second the
for it?
nomination.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Easy.
Thanks, Martha.
Good job.
All right, does that do it, Brad? So we'll make a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.